here we can see the questions.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyone there though?
Should be.
Seems pretty deserted to me.
Well, there were about 50 people waiting. So.
Oh, hello there. Started coming here.
Hello. Hello to all. Привет. Hi everyone. See more and more people joining. Let's give them a few more minutes.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Hello. Okay.
So here we go. That's the first question that we were expecting, to be honest. We will announce it. Well, the question is, what's the ETH limit per person? We will announce it after KYC is closed, and we do a little bit more cleaning of the database. It should be on the 22nd of November. We'll announce the numbers.
Also, I'm not sure if it's going to be EHT though, because of the way we're going to be processing transactions. I really think it might be in terms of tokens rather than ETH. Well, we're pricing the tokens in USD or USD cents. So the question will we adjust a EHT cap? So again, the question is kind of redundant because we're not doing it in EHT. We're doing it in US dollars and token numbers.
Yeah, it's best to say.
Do you intend to focus on business activities in China? Well, that's our biggest and first target market, but there are others around. But the first one is definitely China.
I've registered my KYC. How do I purchase WaBi token? Well, there will be kind of an individual login where you can see all the information that you require and need. And we're going to be issuing sort of individual passwords and logins. And you might have already created this password when you registered. And we'll probably do a sort of a longish PIN message and another MAA once we roll out the system.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty straightforward. Once you see it, there shouldn't be too many questions. And we'll announce it and let you log in before the ICO itself, so that you have some time to familiarize yourself and ask us questions. So we have time maybe to adjust the information that you needed.
Will our token value decrease if you're incentivizing every purchase of product with WaBi coin? Well, I'm not too sure what you mean here exactly, but we're incentivizing if you're talking about the escrow account, then escrow has a very clear rules of how it's going to be utilized. So basically, for escrow to come into play, the sales volume in the channel needs to go up by 5%. And then the 5% of coins will be added into the system. So this way, the value of token will not be decreasing.
Mm-hmm. What are your short-term highest priorities? Well, depends how you define short-term. For the next 10 days, it's to have a successful ICO. After that, it's to have the system fully up and running without glitches. Making sure that people like it. And then for the next year, it's growing the number of retailers and outlets where the products without protection are sold on one hand, and growing the assortment and number of merchants on the other.
How many applications have you received for the whitelist? Well, we received quite a lot of applications. I say, high thousands if you want to. I won't go into too many details because now we're gonna start cleaning up the list a bit, and so the number goes up and down every time because we keep uncovering the fraudulent schemes that some scoundrels set up. We even had this case of people using detained people mugshots. You see how disgusting some people can be. And so yeah, for now we're kind of analyzing data in all sorts of ways, uncovering and deleting them. So today I think hundreds of people are going to get an X, and yesterday it was I think 500 more. So it's
today a couple of hundred already went out, and then there's
a
couple more hundred coming in. Yeah.
So it will be essentially will be thousands of people getting an X in the end. Not people, but the applications.
The fake applications. Yeah. On this one, as an authenticity and anti-fake company, we kind of really get pissed off with fake applications. So we are battling them seriously. So some of the ICOs had huge numbers in the whitelist. Could be to do with the fake applications. We wouldn't know that, but seeing the numbers then, how many fake applications there are, unless it's taken seriously, I think the problem exists.
So again, when you feel that your application takes too long to process, just please bear with us. We have a process which is complete, in a sense, like an algorithm is complete, that it is it's going to touch every single application. Nothing's going to be skipped. And if you apply before the designated deadline, you can be sure that your application will be brought to its logical conclusion. Yeah, so just keep tight and please be patient.
Well, we'll keep processing the applications up to the 21st, right? We're closing the new applications after on 21st at 23 hours 59 minutes GMT. But after that, we'll keep processing the application so that we can finish the backlog.
And finally, kind of to finish off on this. So basically, some applications take longer to process because if there is something non-standard with this application, we'll have to relegate them to a different process. And before sort of a person gets to this new queue of applications, because they require different manipulations, it can take some time. That's why, for example, our contributors from India and Malaysia experience these delays, because we need to verify the phone numbers. And because they're not automated, we have to put them into a different bucket and then do it one by one after a few days, because like every day we receive at least 1,000 more applications, right? So we're kind of, so that's that. So different processes set up for different types of applications and different timing.
I have registered my KYC. How do I purchase WaBi token? We'll share all the details by email and in all of our official channels. You're going to need to log into the contributors space, and then it's going to be pretty straightforward what to do there. There's not going to be any need for a rush. Basically, you're not going to have to play with any of the gas limits or price or the transactions. It's going to be pretty relaxed and straightforward. You don't need to worry about it too much.
So the question about the source code, I don't know if you want to take it.
Where is it?
This one. Let's find the source code.
Where can I find the source code? I can't find it in the white paper. Well, it's not in the white paper, and you will not find the source code because it's not open source. Oops. The consumer product market is huge, so definitely there's room for you and Walton, but what differentiates you? Guys, we've answered this question a lot. I think, I'll do it briefly now and then...
let me first make a statement, basically. What we may have expressed about Walton should be taken with a grain of salt, because we don't know what they're doing. We have only access to their website, which is, to be honest, not very intuitive. We've seen this video with flying objects, but we don't know what they're doing, right? They may be onto something great. It's just that to us, the business model itself is very unclear. So for us, it's very important to make something very transparent in terms of the way it makes money. And for Walton, we don't have too much information to make this comparison. We can tell you at length what we are doing, right? Because we know our business very well, we know our technology very well, so we're comfortable speaking, about ourselves. But when it comes to comparison, again, it's just something not that we should be, should be telling you essentially. Because first, we don't know it, and second, if it comes from us, again, what kind of credibility this kind of statement will have anyway? Do you wanna?
I'll be brief. In terms of business model, the differences between B2B and B2C. Walton, it seems like they're doing it B2B, where they will provide their technology as a service to other companies. We're building a retail channel, a safe retail channel where consumers are able to buy safe products through our channel. So for us, the final customer is the consumer and not the business. I wouldn't go into detail why it's so important. It's described at length in the white paper. There's videos in our Telegram that you can see where we're answering this question. In terms of technology, I think the big difference is, at least two. One is in the fact that Walton seems to be developing their own chip and their own reader, which may be great for some of the applications. However, I don't think it's the best way to go if you want a wide adoption. Whereas for us, we are using a standard chip that works with just normal mobile phones, and consumers don't need to purchase any special reader to access our technology. These are the big differences in terms of the technology.
So, do you guys speak Mandarin in Cantonese? We speak Mandarin. Have WaBi cooperated with Taobao, JD, other B2C, C2C platform? Well, I mean, it depends what you define by cooperation, right? So, we're selling currently on JD, but we're not, like, how to put it, officially affiliated with JD headquarters, if you want to put it. Taobao, well, I don't want to make any official statements because it can be a bit tricky, but I encourage you to look at our website and make your own, kind of derive your own conclusions from it. But in a way, we're building our own B2C system and C2C system as well. Kind of encouraging the P2P trade. This is one of the major business lines here.
Yeah, generally when you see companies, especially in ICO, speaking about the partnerships, I would encourage you to ask what's the nature of those partnerships, because we keep hearing about this project has these partnerships, this project has that partnerships, and it's never clear what is it that they do together. Is it a service relationship that someone hired, let's say, an accounting firm, and then that accounting firm does accounts for the project? Does that constitute a partnership? Maybe some projects would actually claim that. So please do try to ask what the nature of the partnerships is whenever you look at other ICOs.
Let's also look at who signs the partnership, right? So if someone says it has a partnership with, I don't know, Nissan, so is it Nissan local dealership, or is it Carlos Ghosn who signed the partnership, which would have obviously different import on the future potential of the partnership.
How many applications so far? Estimate? Well, we already answered that. We'll tell you in the 20 seconds. Who is your favorite advisor? Frankly, we really like them all. They all have their own areas of expertise and their own spikes, and that's actually what brings them, what makes them super valuable for us. That's everyone has their own expertise. We know that, okay, if we have a question on this, we can go to these two guys. If we have a question on that, we go to the third one, etc.
But so far, we managed to have a drink with with all of them but one, because of the kind of we just didn't have a chance to go to that location yet. But we've been hanging out with kind of three of them together already.
No, I saw him in London.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I saw him in London. Okay, we just didn't take the picture.
Fair enough. Yeah, so by proxy, we kind of have been drinking with all of them. So essentially, yeah, they're all our favorite advisors.
Yeah, well, answering the question, who's favorite for sure.
Do Brazil contributors have to KYC now? Can after token sale?
Well, do the pre-sale contributors have to do KYC now, or can they do it after the token sale? It depends. If you want to just sell the tokens back, you actually don't need to do the KYC. If you want to lock the tokens and exchange them for that 3 or 6 months option, then you need to do the KYC now, so that you would have access to the contributor space just like everyone else at the ICO. How many app downloads do you have as of now? Don't remember the exact number. I think it's somewhere between 400 and 500. There's not many on Google Google App Store because it's actually blocked in China. I would encourage you to look at Baidu and the Tencent store that have a few more of the downloads there.
Well, Mouse, I mean, we do occasionally sleep, and I mean, thanks to you guys, you've been very actively helping us sort of maintaining the sort of standard of quality of discussion in the channel. So thanks a lot for that. 24/7, yeah, okay. Is there going to be a stake in dividends or rewards? Well, definitely not going to be any dividends. And well, depends what kind of rewards you have in mind. If it's there definitely will be a lot of spiritual reward because we're doing a very good thing. So in terms of our mission.
Sorry guys, the questions are jumping a little bit, so it's harder to see them.
Oh, because you're scrolling down.
Okay. Okay. How important are getting listed on exchanges for you when exchange? Well, we're not going to comment when exchange or which exchanges. How important is it for us? Well, it's quite important to have the token liquid, so we could look at the value, and for us, amongst other things, it serves as an indicator of whether we're doing things right or wrong. So it is important to have.
Guys, just to emphasize, I think it sounded right. We're going to be on exchanges. Just when and which ones we cannot tell you. It's just exchanges request essentially.
Yeah.
They're quite adamant that this information shouldn't be revealed.
Sorry if it has been answered before, but I just joined the AMA. Could you please elaborate a little bit more about the pre-sale situation, the way you will buy out the investors? Well, for the pre-sale contributors, the guys who essentially bought the pre-WaBi tokens back in August, the $300,000 that we're using for the ICO, we're giving them two options. One is to sell the tokens back to us, as in to the project, so that we would exchange them and lock them for 6 months. Or the other option is to lock it for 3 to 6 months and then have them back with a little bonus from the founders. Where it's 5 to 10% that will come from mine and Yaroslav's allocations of the tokens. That's pretty much the situation.
What's the biggest hurdle over the next 6 to 12 months? Well, I mean, the biggest hurdle, and the thing which is the most difficult to do, is will be growing the team, because it's really, really hard finding good people that definitely have A players here. I mean, not here, just everywhere. And so our team so far have been subjected to very rigorous interviews, and I don't know, maybe we'll do AMA with them one day, and they can tell you about what kind of things we made them do. And
all legal.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was all legal, but it was quite extreme. And so essentially, yeah, that will be sort of the biggest challenge, kind of growing the team, because we sort of at the same speed as our growth requires. Okay, what exchanges try to reach? There will be no comment.
Exactly. So there's a question about McDo and partners with McDonald's. I didn't understand the question. If you could rephrase it, maybe we could try to answer.
Exactly, when people buy McDo, they're partners with McDonald's.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were trying to say. Exactly.
Yeah. Can you elaborate a bit on the loyalty program, especially the part where every consumer who scans the Walimai label becomes a miner? How does that work exactly? Well, it doesn't work in the same way as mining works for Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? It's not that the person generates a new WaBi. There's 100 million WaBi is 100 million WaBi. There's never more than 100 million WaBi. What will happen is that the person will essentially be rewarded for scanning the product. The reason that we need that is that because the way that the security of the system is set up, we need people to actually scan the products to update the label so that the data gets rewritten in the labels, so that it increases the collective security of the overall system. On the other hand, if people don't scan completely, the security level of the system decreases. So we're trying to prevent that. And being able to reward them with WaBi will essentially ensure the security of the system overall.
So basically, you see, if people don't scan, we kind of sort of have to descend to the level of security that the other good RFID providers kind of use in the space, and we don't want it because we know that it's. I mean, I guess it's okayish, but it's not something that we want. We want 100% security, and that sort of RFID labels without our algorithm in place just don't provide that.
Do the WaBi dance. Boom, chick, boom.
We'll do it. No, we'll do it.
You didn't discuss this with me before.
Listen. We'll do it after the MAA, after the ICO is complete. We'll do it. Like the entire team will do it.
I like to WaBi.
Yes. Or maybe we'll pre-record it and kind of post it somewhere.
We should agree on these things before,
Well.
Anyway. Maybe you do it twice. So, aside from baby products and alcohol, what products do you see WaBi would be used for in the future? Well, the natural extensions, which will come very quickly, will be pharma and food additives. The reason that it's a natural extension is that it is sold through the same channels, through the same outlets, on one hand, and on the other hand, it's sold to the same consumers. So it's the same, generally young mothers who used to buy the baby food. They already know the brand, they already know the label, they already know how to use it, have the app. So it's easy for them to start buying the cosmetics with our label as well. So they immediately will see the value.
So there's another open source question. No, we did it again.
Okay, you do it.
Let me do it. You guys do gay stuff. Okay. Go Brazil, sport. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Could you guys explain why the code isn't open source? It would be nice if an objective third party can peer review the code. Well, that's actually an additional security measure.
But I mean, depends. I think might be a confusion. Like, what kind of code are you talking about? Is it like the app code? Is it the blockchain with sort of tracking information, which will be obviously on blockchain, which will be visible, or is it the contract code, which will be visible? Which will be visible again, right? So we're not releasing the authentication algorithm. That we'll just not do. But the rest, I think, it will be pretty much open source. Like once it's ready.
Yeah. How many transactions approximately have been made with the WaBi chip?
Well, how many scans? I mean, there will be, I guess, thousands, if not tens of thousands of scans, like overall. But it depends what what you mean by transactions.
Considering that your main target market is China for the time being, how do you judge the regulatory risk going forward? It's fine. I mean, we are confident that we'll be able to operate and build a business here. So we don't see a risk for us in terms of building the business. And when I say us, I mean not just me and Yaroslav, I mean the project.
Since we already confirmed with our KYC. Well, I mean, you see, basically we were discussing this question before, so kind of now we're combating all this ID farms. And so this WaBi requirement is actually to prevent kind of purchasing IDs from some parts of the world. And so if you have been approved before, and you might be contacted and you might be kind of requested to provide one, but it is not 100% certain that you will be. So if your application is all checks out, if you have all things in place, there are no irregularities, then you're probably okay.
Basically, we are cutting out hundreds of applications. Some of them have actually already been approved, but we're cutting them out because there are very clear irregularities, and we are asking people to provide either additional information, or when it's pretty clear that they they were fake, now that the new information gets uncovered, then it happens. There may be some cases where we may be wrong, and there may be a person, a real person who provided real data, but the data will be showing that it's fake. In this case, there's always a chance to contact us and have a short call on Skype to actually prove that nothing is wrong there. So there's always a way to prove that the application is correct. It is a hard job for us to analyze all of that data and to figure out which applications are actually fake. And we are spending quite a bit of time on it, but like I was saying, we do have a big allergy for anything fake. And we do want to have only real people and only real submissions in our ICO.
So what is your long-term horizon for WaBi? Are you aiming for wide-ranging application for WaBi? Will it be product-specific? Are you aiming to be the standard setter for this type of product? Well, actually, it's quite interesting because our aim is not to be how to put it? It's not the question of being a standard setter, because eventually the problem of fakes will either go away completely, like in the very long run, or every product will have an RFID chip, because RFID chip is just a superior technology to anything that is present on the market, because it is as superior as anything digital is superior to analog. However, what we are trying to build is we're trying to build a retail channel, right? So it will be more of a shopping experience, which will target existing kind of channels in a very specific way. So basically, we're going to be growing our own POS or point of sales offline, wherever it can be, in baby stores, bus stops, anywhere. And also, we're going to be going online, but unlike sort of traditional Amazon-style platform, we're going to be doing it via social networks. So it's going to be kind of a social network or peer-to-peer sales-specific shopping experience, where we kind of take the authentication function as an outsource it, right? So this way, the products, whenever it doesn't matter where they're sold. They can be sold in some rural Tibet or anywhere, or in supermarket in Shanghai. It won't matter if they're our labels. So that's what we're trying to achieve. So sort of a very specific shopping experience for the consumer.
That being said, we've recently been contacted by a very early stage startup asking us if we want to add WaBi into their ATMs. They're building crypto ATMs in Asia, so there may be a different avenue for additional avenue for WaBi there as well. Yeah,
but I mean, WaBi being kind of a loyalty program for shopping, and us trying to create this sort of a new shopping experience, it just makes all the sense that we make it
all matches,
redeemable as a currency.
When someone buys baby formula, will the WaBi label, with the WaBi label, do they redeem that label for WaBi token?
Well, I mean, when they get the formula, they might get WaBi tokens as a form of reward. This is something that a lot of manufacturers do currently in retail, so they do it as a form of discount, but this will be given as a reward, as a loyalty reward. And after that, when they scan, they will be given some WaBis as well. So they will essentially scan it twice, before consumption to verify authenticity, and after consumption, so after they open it, break the label, so they scan again for WaBi tokens, and this way they prove that they have consumed the product, right? So, so in a sense, yes, but depends on what you mean exactly by your question.
Are you guys Chinese citizens? No, we're not. Any regulation hurdles if you're not? Not really. There are hurdles for certain types of businesses, not for us. Are we still doing a selfie note since we already confirmed with the KYC? I think we answered this question.
Just answered it. I have read it out of the order.
What is the use of the token? What can token holder do from the first day? Well, the token holder will be able to in the app.
Yeah, we can just basically we can show some. Actually, we can give some updates today, so it will be more exciting this way.
Yeah, I hope just my phone doesn't die.
No,
No, Oh, yeah. So
it's live demonstration. No, you should be.
yeah. So I just scanned the label. Yeah, sorry, that's the sound. So now you can go into Get WaBi in the app, and it says, "Oh, congrats, you're getting your WaBi." Now you click on it, and you actually get WaBi added to
your account.
To your account. This is a mock-up. It's not dealing with the real token yet because the real token was not minted. But you see where it's going, right?
So effectively, yeah. To answer your question, from day one, essentially, once we have tokens minted and we have this set up this buffer system with China, this is what the consumers are going to be getting, the tokens in the app immediately.
Mm-hmm. Once more, with regards to pre-sale, I was part of pre-sale and also want to contribute in the main. No issues, right? Also, ETH contribution address for pre-sale and May sale is different for me. Yes, it will be different. I mean, you just need to follow the same process everyone else in the ICO. And no, there are no issues if you contributed in the pre-sale to participate in the ICO. There's no limitation.
How long does KYC take? Well, it takes kind of varying different sort of amount of time, right? So some of the application takes hours to process, others takes days to process because they may miss some data and kind of put into a different bucket, and we have a separate process set up for them.
Where is the GitHub? We'll actually publish the smart contract code soon. You'll see it on GitHub. But other than that, we didn't publish anything on GitHub.
Wasn't there?
Yeah, we answered this.
No, it's a different one.
Again, pre-sale. I also bought some pre-WaBi from my friends. I can redeem those too, in addition to the ones I directly bought from you. What is pre-sale contribution? Fail the ICO then. No, there's no limit. If you bought from someone, you can use them in terms of selling them back or in terms of exchanging them just in the same way as if you bought them at the pre-ICO. No issues there.
Walt will have to dance too. Yeah, he knows that. Okay, GitHub, gay stuff. I don't know why would you want to know. WaBi dance. Okay, I was still doing a selfie. Yes. What will the market look like in 5 years as a result of using the product or service? Well, the way the market will look, essentially it will look. You see, the markets are we're kind of following the market. We're on the one hand, we're a market maker, in terms of we're building on top of something that's been emerging kind of sporadically in China, and not just in China actually, and in other places. So this is something that's called kind of peer-to-peer sales. So this sales based on local kind of it's more than Daigo. It's a bit like it's the same thing with CrossFit, right? So it's building all those kind of local communities and kind of having much more contact with each other because of technology or whatnot. And so this is sales because you buy something not because you see it on TV advertising, but because you either see it on the internet, but even less so, more likely because someone recommends it to you who you trust. So essentially, this builds people with kind of with local trust and local authority, if you want. And so the market, so the e-commerce will be moving this direction definitely in China and throughout Asia, and we are following the same thing there. I might need to do a write-up on this because it might sound a bit wacky the way I say now, kind of bringing CrossFit Reebok into it, but this is something that we've been talking about and building our business model around, and so we'll be announcing more kind of strategic directions in the future on that.
What mistakes have you made thus far and in this business, and what have you learned? I think the biggest one is, it's actually something that some of our competitors still, I think, need to go through, is that B2B here doesn't really work. We try to go the B2B way with our labels and the anti-fake technology, realized that it doesn't really work, and we changed it to the B2C. So that's a completely different business model. That's really the biggest mistake and the biggest learning that we have. Will you entertain requests to increase the individual investors' cap after they have been assigned? No. Guys, do you have plans to populate your app in North America and Russia? These are not our target markets at this point, but if we see an opportunity to grow the system that would make sense for the company and for the system overall, then yes, of course.
So GitHub again.
GitHub again.
They try to reach Europe or use.
I don't understand this question.
No, I think like I would planning to do something in Europe, but I guess I mean the closest one will be sort of delivering Asian products to other markets. So this is something that keeps popping up because Asian markets are very well, especially in the markets in China, not markets, but producers in China do cool things. Not all of them, but a lot of them, and so these cool products get a lot more adoption now in the West since you get all sorts of well, first retail channels, and you know about these things, sort of I don't know, from devices to like from mobile phones to drones and all that, and there are a lot of fakes, right? So you don't know who you buy from, and you don't know whether they're going to ship you a new drone or a brick, and so one of the business directions that we have been sort of thinking about is doing sort of the reverse direct, sort of securing Asian products going overseas. So I think this is the closest this comes.
How can customers purchase WaBi from fiat apart from going through exchanges? Well, when you say customers, if you mean consumers, they actually don't necessarily buy WaBi. They buy the product and then they get rewarded by the merchant, which in the case right now it would be us. They get rewarded for buying the product, just like you get rewarded with air miles when you buy an air ticket and fly with an airline.
But I mean, they get again. So the functionality of purchasing the WaBis will be introduced. But it will be done not through crypto exchanges because most of our customers are not that tech savvy. So it will be essentially like what Alex was showing just now. It will be done through a sort of mobile interface within our app. So it will be a very 2 or 3 click solution to buy gift cards, for example, which is then processed at the back end by a WaBi project, us as the system provider.
Can you give the code to QuantStab for the review? Well, we could, but there are several independent reviewers who are doing the review of our smart contract, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Are they operational? Just run the ICO?
I don't know. What is the story with the others 56 million WaBis? I mean, we've posted detailed descriptions of the token splits. If you have a specific question of any particular allocation, we would be happy to elaborate.
Any the token holders can be part of the business. Fixed WaBi labels also have to be part of it. Well, I mean, there's no exclusion there. It's just not necessarily a like direct connection. But since token holders already know our product, then if there are opportunities for partnership emerge, then yeah, of course we can pursue them if they're sort of mutually beneficial.
Yeah. Do you have a partnership again with the China government, or do they support you in any way? Well, again, depends what you define by as partnership. That's harder to answer. Whether they support us in any way, yes. We actually got a government grant to develop the anti-fake technology, so that money actually went to partly developing these labels. So yes, they do support us in a big way. Apart from that, there's things like the free office and a bunch of other things, but the grant was the main thing.
But you see, this is, just to emphasize, this is kind of thing that is, it is, I guess, it's important, but we don't want to blow it out of proportion, because it's not like we have a partnership with a central government that will claim that, is going to mandate that every single manufacturer in China will have to use our labels. No, it's not like that. So basically, it's how to put it, public-private partnership for us to develop our technology, and they give us some, I don't know, seed or
Essentially seed capital.
Seed capital to do that.
China likes to support their own companies before allowing others in. So what would make them go with your company versus endorsing a China-based company? Well, I think the first thing is that there's no another China-based company that is doing the same thing. Second, I would say that the Walimai itself and the Safe Channel, the Walimai Safe Channel, is a China-based company. So we are registered here, we're operating here, we're paying the taxes here. The people who we employ pay the taxes here and get the salaries here. So we are just as much a China company in that sense.
It's also, I mean, it's important to understand that in China, people like to do it, kind of to approach things top down, kind of, government partnership, big company partnership, and all that. But actually, what works in China is the bottom-up approach. What really works. So essentially, when you have a popular support, when people buy your product, then no matter how many partnerships you have, you will never be able to trump the popular support, and that's what we're building here.
How do you deal with duplicate applications? I think it's actually in the.
That's quite funny because you just duplicated.
You duplicated the question. Some way that we deal with the duplicated questions, we will answer this question only once, and we have only single application. The system does not allow for duplicate application unless there's an attempt to trick the system, and in that case we cut it out.
No, I think he meant duplicate applications like in the Android, like Abibas, in a way. That kind of, so it would create something like
okay. So it's actually quite simple because the apps are being distributed through centralized sources. So for iPhone, there's iTunes Store. For Android, there's quite a few more, but there are only a few leading ones. It's actually quite easy to track if anything of a similar name or a similar logo starts to pop up and kick them out. It's not that difficult.
So, any comments on collaboration with Aliexpress? Will WaBi be used in Alipay? Thanks. Well, again, same principle applies. We will not comment until we have something to comment on, and until we are feeling comfortable that we can comment on that. So basically, wait and see.
Can you simply explain the business model?
Yes, we're building.
We can.
We're building a retail channel. We're creating consumer trust in our products. We're introducing our own points of sale and reaching customers, and then we sell that to the manufacturers who want to enter the China market and who want to have their products secured. And we're doing, and they're willing to pay for it dearly.
Have you ever been fired from a job? If yes, tell us about it.
Once I was kicked out from a Kung Fu class because...
Naughty.
No, but I can explain the reason. So basically, like my first Kung Fu Shifu, he was he was PhD in physics from Cambridge, no less. And so he had a very empirical approach to Kung Fu. And then sort of, unfortunately, he left Beijing at the time, and then I went to find another Shifu. And so when I asked him, why should I do these things and not the other way, he said, you should not ask stupid questions, essentially. And I was effectively banned from the Kung Fu class, as we were banned from some of the groups in Telegram. We were asking kind of empirical questions about product development and business model and whatnot.
Yeah, we joined some of the groups of our competitors a while ago. Trying to ask them a few questions and understand what they do, and then we were banned as well. For me personally, I've been banned from exams a couple of times for helping my friends solve the maths problems. So effectively, I was cheating as well.
I didn't know that.
I wasn't helping you, that's why. There's a few. My question kind of left unanswered. I know how you will do the pre-sale buyout. I was asking, why are you doing this? And please answer something reasonable, not the standard, to not have people dumping on
well, I don't know what else do you expect, because essentially, not to have people dumping it was not the dumping itself that was scary. It was that people were influencing a lot of other people who said that it will be much cheaper to buy it from Ether Delta afterwards, and that created sort of social dynamics that was essentially poisoning the whole ICO. So this is the real thing. I don't know what else are you trying to find there, because we're taking essentially with a buyout, we're betting on ourselves, right? We're buying our own tokens, so we're exchanging Ether on our own tokens, and we're betting that our performance and the price of the tokens will go up. So effectively, we're aligning the incentives with our ICO investors. I don't know. Does that answer your question? Because if it doesn't, I don't think I have any other answer to give.
Does the amount of the discount received depend on the current market price of the token, or just the number of tokens the user holds? Well, it depends on the current market price of the token, because essentially
The amount of discount received. The amount of discount.
We're not talking about the ICO. I think that's the question about how the system actually operates.
Oh, okay.
In the ICO, there's no discount, right? We told everyone. I take this question as the amount of discount received when a consumer buys a product without label. I hope I understand it correctly. Now, it depends on the market price of the token. So effectively, if someone buys a can of baby food for $30, and the retailer or the merchant wants to give 10% discount, so the $3 can be given in WaBi. If the price of WaBi at that time is 50 cents, it will be 6 WaBis. If the price of WaBi at that time is $1, it's going to be 3 WaBis. How will the dynamic price of WaBi on the exchange be handled when the mechanics create...
When the merchants
create the promotions? Well, I pretty much just explained it in an example.
No, because in retail is measured in percentages, so it's depth of discount, the way it's called usually.
Also, where you're located, registered as a company. Walimai is located in China and registered in China. WaBi project is a Singapore-based company and is
registered in Singapore.
Why you're raising fund, and how did you get to valuation of raising 11 million? It's 46 million tokens that are being sold at 25 cents. 46 multiplied by 25 cents is 11.5.
Well, I mean, there's also, if you want the valuation. So we said before that basically to acquire one single baby store, we need about 1,000 USD in hardware, and about twice as much in kind of marketing and initial marketing activities, I guess, if you want. So it makes it $3,000 per store, and we still are planning to acquire 1,000 stores in China, so that makes it $3 million in terms of just growth. Then we have sort of working capital to populate our sort of product offerings, and that will be take another I'd say another 3 million out of circulation. Then it will be team growth and some little reserve left for the unexpected. So that's essentially the valuation.
What blockchain are you using to safeguard your WaBi label so that they cannot be duplicated? Is it Ethereum or your own blockchain? There's two parts to the answer. First, right now, the protection against duplication is actually in the app and in the label, right? It's not in just the blockchain, and it's explained in the details in the white paper. So I think it's best to start from there. In terms of which blockchain we're going to be using, the WaBi token right now will be an ERC20 token, so it's on our Ethereum blockchain. But then for the logistics system where these labels will be placed, we're choosing the right blockchain to use, and the options still range. We didn't set on any particular blockchain yet, so I wouldn't comment on which one. I wouldn't want to speculate too much.
So if a company wants to use WaBi chip in its production in the textile industry in Europe, whether it is possible in the future? Well, you see, nothing is for sale and everything is for sale in a way, right? So if we see a business opportunity and we have a capacity to deliver or achieve what we want to achieve, then sure, it's possible. It's just that we're not going to be trying to try to bring everything onto our platform, like from I don't know, from spaceship parts all the way to I don't know, condoms or pens. It's not our aim, right? So if it fits into our business model, if we have a capacity to do something and it's has a sort of strategic potential to integrate further into with our businesses, we'll do it. If not, no.
How do you expect the WaBi token to increase in price just with the demand, or are there more contributor factors for the WaBi token to increase in value? Well, here I can speak about the users of the WaBi token, and that's essentially being the loyalty points and being the reward for scanning. So we want to push this usage. We want to encourage people to use it, and we want to encourage the system to grow, which will increase the usage of the WaBi token. Alex and Yaro, why people call you Yaro, by the way?
It's shorter.
Yaroslav, Yaro, okay. Yeah. I really love your product and service. I'll certainly be part of your project. My question, how will you guys manage the selling of the tokens if everybody will keep them?
Well, you see, if everybody will keep them, that means the price of individual token will just go up, and the token will start splitting because it will have decimals.
Or
exactly,
some people will start selling them when the price goes up. So
a bit like correction with with Bitcoin, because just some people just want to fix the earnings.
Yeah. Are the individual investor caps final?
Well, they are once they are on the first day. It's just we don't have them yet, right?
Yeah.
Not yet, but they're Chinese and will copy you. Well, I mean, you see, the problem with copying is that you can copy things which are, I guess, manufactured to a certain extent, but as you copy them, you're always behind because you're only copying what the company has produced already. And with the kind of business we have in mind, it just doesn't. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, they can copy, but this is not what we're like. The labels and the verification system is just the base that we're using to build something much more sophisticated. It's not going to be just just another anti-fake system. It's going to be much huger. And then if they want to copy, I mean, let them copy. We'll just never able to catch up with essentially.
Hope you guys grease the right palms. Well, that actually comes back to the B2B versus the B2C. For us, the consumer and the one who is really making the important decision, i.e. which products to buy and where to buy them, is the final consumer. So if you're speaking about greasing the palms, we actually, do it for the consumer, and having the WaBi system is the big part of it. I think you are more referring to greasing palms in a B2B business, but since we're not really a B2B business, that's not something that's applicable to us. So, do you already have a partnership with any baby food company? I think that's what we've been telling everyone already. We are buying the baby food products, multiple brands, from a distributor, a trusted distributor in Europe, in the Netherlands. We do not have any direct partnership with a baby food company. We're going through a distributor there. Yes, with your Kung Fu, would you be able to hypothetically kick Bruce Lee's ass?
Well, you see, I mean, the question might be a bit surprising, but I say yes, and you know why? Because Bruce Lee will be around like 90 years old now, so I think no matter the kung fu and longevity that it gets, is still I'm in pretty good shape compared to sort of 90-year-old Bruce Lee, so probably.
Thanks for answering my questions. I was banned from that channel too, apparently. Let's get them back with success. From my third question. You see, so it's not just us who were banned from some of the competitors to asking questions about the technology and the business model. I have searched Walimai's business archive info, but it shows Walimai operating status is logged out. Can you tell me what's going on?
Yes, because you was probably searching for Walimai Shanghai. You should search for Walimai Jiaxing. So basically, when we received
Walimai Zhejiang.
Oh, Walimai Zhejiang, sorry. So basically, when we received the government funding, one of the conditions was that we relocated from Shanghai to Zhejiang. So you can do your chi-cha-cha once again and check it out.
How does this project differ from VChain?
I don't know. I mean,
how about okay? We're B2C. We're not B2B. We have working products and customers who buy things. VChain
partnerships.
VChain has partnerships. I would encourage you to ask what those partnerships are and what's the nature of those partnerships. And they also, I've also seen that they have some shop with wine where they sell, I think, wine with the RFIDs that can be scanned with the WeChain app. But interestingly enough, that shop is actually in a very remote part of Shanghai that...
Is it still Shanghai though? It's like I think it's like almost Zhejiang, right? It's like countryside. You know
it's free trade zone, I think.
It's free trade zone.
Yeah,
so basically, it's located in the port, so it's like in the port of Shanghai.
Yeah, I think that's another difference.
Maybe sailors buy the wine, you know. It's then they don't.
Yeah. Do you already have a partnership with any baby food company? Already answered. Do you think China government will stimulate your project? Have you been given licenses or anything? We already answered that as well, actually. We do have a grant from the Chinese government, and that helped us to develop the technology.
But I mean, we also have all sorts of licenses, you know, which are legally required to operate the business that we're operating.
Yeah, things like selling foods, you actually need a separate license for it, and yeah, of course we have it. Hi, Alex, and your pre-ICO price was 3 cents. How many contracts people got into the pre-ICO? Thanks in advance. So it was $300,000. It was about 300 people. So the average is about $1,000 per person. The biggest one was, I think, $15,000. And I mean, not the biggest transaction. I mean, the biggest contributor. There was no cap on a contribution. So there was no reason for people to kind of try to split between different accounts, fake accounts, or anything like that. Yeah, I think that's.
But I mean, it's kind of all available on the Etherscan, right? So I mean, if you're interested, you can just search for it, and you'll see the distribution for yourself.
Are you also looking to reach out to manufacturers like Unilever, Danone, etc.? Yes, but that will be a slightly later stage. They need to see a few million users of our channel first to really get into the idea of selling products with our labels.
Because otherwise it will be, you know, greasing palms again.
Yeah, otherwise it's about greasing palms.
We just don't want to do it.
Last couple of weeks, I have seen a huge influx of new members in Telegram, etc. Was this expected?
Nope.
Not really.
Well, I mean, in a way, we always knew from the start that that we're going to have a successful ICO. Joking, obviously. No, I mean we didn't know, but we were hoping that things will take off. Yeah,
we're very glad that the momentum is increasing and more people are getting into the ICO. So now we're pretty confident that it will be a successful ICO, which will give us a very good chance of building a successful company and solving an important problem.
So not to worry about the individual cap. Well, I mean, we're cutting a lot of frauds, and so it, might have. I don't think it will have gone up today, but it's kind of remain kind of net neutral.
Can we hear a summary of the token utilization? I think that was answered already. If I'm correct, the product is completely developed, so all the ICO fundings will go to setting up partnerships, etc.
They will go into scaling, and partnerships is well, I mean, define partnership, right? It's not. It will not go to sign in MOUs. It will be. It will go into building our own points of sale in baby shops and sort of in virtual stores, like KOLs, key opinion leaders, who are very operational. I mean, who are very active on Chinese social networks. So this is what it will go to. So I mean, this kind of partnerships that will immediately generate cash for us. It's not MOUs or whatever partnership. Just stop hating this word already.
To clarify my previous question about the individual caps being final, will you instead request to increase individual caps after they've been assigned and released? No.
I mean, they will on the second day when they will double, right? So.
Kung Fu answer was awesome.
Thank you. It was Kung Fu answer.
Haha, funny team. Don't you think it could become problematic if, let's say, main baby food get an official dealer in China? You become irrelevant? No.
Well, I mean, they already have, all of them have official dealers. It's just that official dealers are not trusted in China. That's why people prefer to buy it abroad and bring it into China. But again, baby food is just only a start for us, and we're much more optimistic about smaller producers who want to enter China. So I mean, just to give you an example, so recently we went to the United States and we were at one of these startup presentations, and so one of the ideas, well, it's a startup that's kind of fundraising on Kickstarter right now. It's a hardware startup that kind of makes interactive toys for children. When they play with some sort of cubes and interact with the iPad, they have all sorts of the iOS integration there with the cubes which interact with the screen. And so the children can not just stare at the screen, but play with the cubes as well. And I know that Chinese parents would love it because all the babies here just love iPads. And I know it from my personal experience because my son just loves his iPad, I mean, his mother's iPad. And so I know this kind of thing will just work really nicely for Chinese parents because here the toys are really, they are either very expensive and sold only in like select stores, or they're quite cheap and like, I don't want to say usual Chinese toys, but yeah, like the average level of toys here is not that impressive. So this kind of thing, sort of innovative toys, would be very nicely integrated with our channel. And so this kind of smaller producers in the West who would have never been able, like never ever been able to enter Chinese market, they will be able to with our channel because we are protecting them from counterfeits. We're giving them consumers. And we're giving them sort of the immediate access to the huge market right from the start, like that, like a turnkey solution, effectively. So if whatever happens to baby formula, there's a huge market for this kind of small to medium-sized producers who will find their market in China with us.
What's your previous work experience? Well, I think you can find a detailed answer to the question on LinkedIn and on wacoin.io. There are links to our LinkedIn profiles. There's all the details that you can see there. In short, for me, I used to work in consulting with McKinsey then as an independent consultant with a bunch of projects. At some point, I was actually working as a sales director for a big baby food company. So I know the rules of the trade, experience with the retail chains and all that is quite easy. And apart from that, also started a couple of companies before. And yes, I think you should.
Okay, I mean, for me, it's also the usual consulting gig, whatever consultant means. But I guess probably the most fun experiences I had. This was kind of on the same project with Alex for this baby food company. So essentially, I was traveling around Russia, around sort of maternity houses, and speaking to doctors, seeing children, and advising them on trying to sell them the baby food, essentially baby food to the maternity house, sort of.
What is your stand against Walton? Well, we answered this question before. We would love to see their product and see how it works, but there's big difference in terms of both the business model and in terms of the technology. We're not doing our own chip, we're not doing our own reader, we're using standard stuff, which I think is good for adoption. And we're going B2C and not B2B, which is another major difference.
So if you want to we're going sort of mass market, they're going, I think, niche market in terms of like application of the chips.
Guys, I was accepted already, but just got an email to send a selfie with WaBi 2017. Is that required? Yes. If we send you this email, please do take another selfie with WaBi 17 on the picture and send it to us. Will I still be able to order my fake Yeezys from China? This really concerns me.
Well, I mean, I think
fashion.
Okay.
I think if you try hard enough, you can always find some fake Yeezys in China.
Well, apart from the Dutch N company, there would be like many other applications for products going to China. Yeah.
But I mean, again, just to give you an example, right? During this ICO, we've been approached by sort of South American wine producer and sort of an European organic honey producer who want to not just put the labels, but they want to access to our channel that we're trying to create. Yeah, right. So.
Will you set up a shop on Aliexpress? No, we didn't plan on Aliexpress specifically. At least now we see some opportunities, but it was not
opening a shop essentially, right? So it's going to be. I mean, we will not be. At first, we're building our own platform, and stuff with Aliexpress will happen in due time.
There are other markets beyond China in a couple of years. Yes, but China is really the priority. The market is so big, we need to make sure we're successful here. Still, the B2B has also a serious demand for product verification, like in automotive aerospace, ref, Kobe Steel.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure that there will be companies who who serve the market. Whether it's going to be Walton or not, we'll see. But let's just everyone should be doing his own thing, and this is the only way to excel. And eventually, as the business grows, we'll see, where it moves. But we just don't want to be chasing every single rabbit that we see running.
Yeah. Can your labels be duplicated by the counterfeiters? Well, no.
That's the whole thing.
That's
right?
the whole thing of these labels. They cannot be duplicated by the counterfeiters because with every scan, the date on the label changes. So it becomes nearly impossible for the counterfeiter to clone the label. So even if they break the passwords and encryptions on the label, and do make a copy, then the data very quickly becomes outdated, which then becomes useless. It's a bit like the security device that you use to log into your internet banking. Each time it gives you a new code. Same idea with this labels. Do you plan masternodes? Well, the WaBi token itself right now will not have the masternodes. It's using the Ethereum network. For the masternodes for the logistics system, for the labels, well, we'll see with which blockchain we go. So the question is, it depends. Sorry, the answer is it depends. Is there a possibility WaBi will use, let's say, the Neo blockchain? It could help with Chinese regulations, etc. in my opinion, setup that knows the actual market.
But then there is another question. Let me start with this one from the same person, essentially. Might be a cool idea. I know Neo is becoming the Ether of China. So see, I mean, we have this recurring joke here in the company that usually it's like it becomes like a business model in its own. Like, let's develop something, but for China, right? And I mean, China is a very special market, right? So they have very special shopping behavior, just culturally different. So things that emerge from China are usually a bit different from what they are in the West, and it's much less integrated into the Western thing. But in general, kind of something but for China just doesn't work. It's just that there hasn't been a single good use case of something but for China. So there are good things in China, but they're usually, that thing in China, right? So they're emerging from China. For example, WeChat, although we have, our own kind of disagreements on their strategies or something, but in itself the technology is very the way the payment system is integrated into social network is just genius, right? Because this is essentially what gave rise to this whole P2P multi-billion-dollar, it's like a $60 billion turnover market right now, just because the social network was integrated with the sort of very easy payment solution. But this is not something but for China. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world as far as we know. And so Neo, yeah, it might become very cool, but it should not try to become something but for China. It should be Neo, for the world, if you want. And so a possibility of kind of using them as a blockchain, yeah, sure, definitely. But it has to be it has to be based on objective factors. It's not just because Da Hongfei knows some people in the government. It's going to be a weighted decision, as it always is with us.
Yeah. Do you get the baby food directly from the producer or distributor? We get the baby food from the distributor in the Netherlands. That question we already answered. And I agree, master notes would be awesome. Are you guys, one second. Are you guys working with ProBees?
Never heard of it. No.
Never heard of it. Spectacular background, guys. Yes, we do try to choose the good views in the office.
But I mean, it's like the second time I have this.
If the ICO doesn't sell out, will the tokens will be burnt? No, they will not be burnt. They will be put into a reserve and kept there for at least 6 months. It's going to be the company reserve, so we can keep using it, when we need to. But something tells me that the ICO will be sold out. Hi, me, I love that project. Well, send us your CV. Can people?
You will be subjected to excruciating interviews, and I do mean excruciating. It's
They're not easy.
like our friend Dom over here. I mean, he can tell you more, during his own personal AMA.
Can people stop with Walton? Walton has nothing to do with fake products, but more with easing logistics and inventory.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sounds reasonable.
Are Walimai products only available through your app, or are they bought at other e-commerce websites or supermarkets? Let's say I own an alcohol brand and I want to use your labels to secure them. Well, it's the latter. They are sold online, they're sold offline. We plan to add the P2P sales. So it's not that they're being bought through the app. The app is there to authenticate the product and not to buy through the app, though selling through the app is the functions that we actually plan to add as well.
That will be added, yeah.
Who is the most memorable member in the WaBi Telegram channel, except Walter or Marcel? Good question.
Well, it depends on the.
I would say Yaroslav.
It depends on the point in time, I guess, as well, because sometimes some people get really into each other, and then we see all these projected arguments that they sometimes kind of seek guidance from us on how to resolve their individual differences, and we've seen quite a few of those. It's always hilarious when especially they try to message you making sort of snapshots of the same conversation they had with each other, and then giving very different interpretations of what happened. So it's really it's Telegram gives you this opportunity of listening to the both sides of the story, like literally.
Any comments on the current fundraising climate? Well, if you're speaking about the ICOs, it looks like it is maturing, which is good. So there's more projects, and some projects are not collecting the money, which is also a very good sign. So you do have to stand out to actually do well with the ICO. So overall, I think it's moving the way that it should be moving to. Let's say I only want to use your labels and software to secure my alcohol brand and not use your platform to sell. Are you open to this kind of software as a service partnerships?
Well, I mean, it's a bit. You see, again, I've been answering these questions in the channel.
Let me answer.
Okay.
Well, I think if you speak to us in detail about this, we will be able to persuade you that white labeling our solution and our technology is not a good choice for your brand and for your sales in China, or for that matter anywhere else. So it's a bit of a longish discussion, but if you want, let's speak, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to persuade you on that.
I mean, we can just persuade you now, right? So if you actually own an alcohol brand, I mean, you will know immediately that you are selling not where you want to sell, but where you're essentially allowed to sell by the retailers, because this is a retailer's market and they control you by the all sorts of things. So essentially you are only selling where you have you manage to negotiate sort of a reasonable margin that you are prepared to give to the retailer. Otherwise, they just will not list you there, because retailers control the consumer, who is essentially you're trying to reach. And without this route to market, there is just no market for your product, and your alcohol brand will be essentially worthless. And so this is this question itself is a bit upside down, if you want.
Do you seek the advisors, or did they come to you? One second. And did crypto grinders seek you? Well, with the advisors, these are people that we know for quite a long time. I mean, we've worked with them, they've been friends. So it's not that we go out in the open, messaging and calling 100 people asking, please be our advisors. We did it in a very pointed way. We asked the people that we really believe would be a great addition to us, and it was not cold calls, right? It was really the people that we know. And we knew that we can work with them and there would be value in it. And with crypto grinders, you were dealing with the crypto grinders, so I think you should.
I mean, the crypto grinders, Andy came to our channel and people challenging our business model, which was always welcome. But it was
a good challenge.
It was very helpful because he was already kind of aware of the whole Daigo business, so we didn't have to go into sort of the basics of retail China and everything. So we kind of had a good discussion with him in our channel, and then we kind of reached out to each other privately, and we were on a business trip to Singapore. and so it was just a good opportunity to do that. And they essentially they agreed to come to us and make the video. But it was absolutely unsponsored or anything. It was absolutely kind of objective, if you want.
Yeah, very professional as well. I think Andy is indeed
and Ryan,
doing a great job.
Really cool.
Yeah. Would you be willing to import directly from the company as well if there is an opportunity for that? How do you make sure distributors trustworthy? Well, answering the last question, it's about documents, it's about relationships, and it's about physically checking the products. We are very sure of our distributor that they're trustworthy and they are selling quality stuff.
Basically, here we have a Domo. I can actually show him. Just trying to introduce the team a bit. Domo here, he's a food engineer. And
Domo is there.
Domo, yeah, this is Domo. And so basically, like his last job was essentially setting up a food safety system for sort of a major hotel. So making sure that people don't get sick, and how they, how effectively they process all the foodstuffs along the whole chain, like when it arrives in the hotel, once it is washed, prepared, and sort of shipped all the way to the kitchen, and then given to customers. So as we move more and more, as we enlist more and more merchants, effectively, we'll be doing our own audits of the entire production process.
And would we be willing to import directly from the company? Yes, of course. Have you seen the GIF with Denzel Washington? Best GIF ever. Yeah, so it's good. 1 second. Are you planning to make it a global product? Have you assessed the situation in other markets related to adulteration?
Well, let's start with the yes. Other markets, sort of in terms of adulteration or counterfeiting, as we prefer to call it, there are problems everywhere in the world. It's just that they are a bit different in their own nature. So a lot of countries experience problems with drugs. I mean, pharmaceuticals. Better way to put it. But the business model will have to be a bit different than it is in China, because here the consumer sentiment really allows you to do a lot in terms of kind of normal retail, because here even rice is fake. For example, doing it in Europe just based on our labels would probably be not the right climate. Whether we want to be global, well, definitely. And as I said again, there is so much more that we want to build with our app here, in terms of this kind of, as you want it, how to put it, kind of local shopping experience that we'll be building with the app and the whole point of sale system. But again, more specifics will be revealed later. Yeah, definitely. I think we're sitting on something very big here.
WaBi only in China? Do you want in the future? Well, we answered this question. China, yeah, just now. What's our favorite gift? I liked a few, to be honest. I think maybe you guys could tell us what's your favorite gifts are. We could have a bit of a vote here as well. All right, thanks. Thank you for participating and answering questions. Asking questions. Sorry, it's late. As to baby food, will you have competition from Tmall Global? In a way, they are competing. They're a different source of supply to the consumers, and they're big. And there is a very clear difference between us and them. They don't have the labels, and they don't have the technology protection of the supply chain, and we do. What is the vesting schedule for the team?
Roses token, so it's what is it, 10%?
Yeah, it's going to be given at 10% of the allocation per month. So we'll be receiving them throughout the year within 10 months. Have you guys also allocated funding from the ICO for marketing and exchange listing? I know sometimes an exchange asks listing fee, etc. Yes, that's all fine. Don't worry about it. Sorry, you might miss the answer. How many applications for the KYC do you receive approximately? No, you didn't miss the answer. We answered that question without the number. We're not telling the number yet. Have you finalized your anti-dumping measures? Yes, they've been pretty much published. The exact procedure of how we're going to be buying back the pre-WaBi tokens will be published in the next 2-3 days. Sorry about being a bit late on that. But yeah, the measures have been final and have been published. People talk about them.
Well, let me answer this. So, I mean, there are two parts of the question. So basically, yes, Alex's kung fu is strong, but he's more of a judo guy. If you're talking about sort of basic.
Yeah, yes, I'm more of a judo guy. 4. Why won't a huge corporation build something like what WaBi does? So that may be related to the Tmall question, right? Well, the way that we see it is that for someone like Tmall or Taobao or Jingdong or anyone that huge, it would actually be difficult to separate a part of their business and call it the safe channel like we do. Because for them, it would mean that, they take, let's say, 10% of their business and they say, okay, we will place a technology similar to our technology, to Walimai technology, onto the products and call it, okay, now this is a really, really safe channel. Then everyone is going to be asking the question, okay, what about the other 90%? So is it not quite secure? And they cannot afford that situation. It's just a strategic reason for them to not be able to use the same technology in the same way that we're doing. So
because just if you look at it a bit differently, because I've already done it with Tmall, right? Because Tmall has a very kind of it's a very rigid kind of vetting system for the merchants, and they have Taobao. So Taobao, everyone knows it's a bit like it's you're feeling lucky kind of way. And but with Tmall, so they introduce a more secure way. So what happens to Tmall? It kind of it's stuck in between, kind of not as secure as the new channel, and at the same time much more expensive than Taobao. So effectively, what are they going to kill Tmall? But at the same time, the new channel, the labels themselves, they will not be able to apply to all the products that are sold, just because the cost structure for the merchants or for the product itself, they sell a lot of non-net high margin products that will not be able to apply these things. So this partitioning of the platform, now that since they started actually merging Tmall back with Taobao, after sort of adopting the the search, kind of mixing the search together, is just not something that they want to do. This is when it comes to sort of Alibaba. Other e-retailers, I think, well, I mean, the similar reasoning would apply, but they just haven't dealt with them. They will just not do it.
Yeah.
They will not be. Yeah, okay.
I don't know the state of counterfeit products in China, but I think most countries have laws for meeting the standards of a product. Any comments on that? Yes, you're right. Most countries have laws of meeting standards of a product.
No,
absolutely correct.
It's about like having laws of having crime, right? If the laws are there to kind of direct the behavior, and people break them every once in a while.
Yeah. And then you need something to protect those laws and enforce those laws. So that's essentially what we're doing to try to protect the products. I think there's no more questions.
Wow.
Whew.
Okay, but I mean, it was quite long, actually, like an hour and a half.
An hour and a half longer than usual. Alright guys, so does WaBi have any guarantee that products with a security label are legit? Well, that's pretty much what we do. When people are buying the products with our label, we guarantee to them that this product is authentic. Thank you. So, good luck. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you in the channels. Ask us questions there as well. We're always available. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.